Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I keep up with Disney Star Wars, so you don't have to. Kind of a sentimental one for me today, lads. As you know, I don't usually make Star Wars content. I've said a couple things here and there, and made obviously those Cad Bane videos from a while back, and I have obviously dipped my toes into a little bit of Battlefront here and there, so I've said a couple things. But needless to say, I try to not Star Wars conversate too terribly much. However, what Disney Star Wars has just done is truly astounding, and I feel the need to say something about it as, again, sentimental. This has been my background on my computer for over a year. Just FYI, everybody. I don't know if I've ever said this on YouTube before, but in my favorite Star Wars character, like everyone asks, everyone knows I'm a big Star Wars geek, and I always get asked who is my favorite character, and I laugh because I really don't know what to say, because my favorite character in Star Wars is Darth Plagueis, but nobody is going to fucking know that. All the normies aren't going to know what you mean when you say that, so I always just go, I guess, Vader. I don't know what else to tell the casual normies. But my favorite character in Star Wars is Darth Plagueis, and I was very mad when they decanonized the EU just for that reason. I would not have been so angry about the decanonization of the EU if they had literally just said, "Oh, but Darth Plagueis is still canon." I regard Darth Plagueis to be the best, I guess, non-film piece of content that Star Wars has ever done. Like that novel by James Luceno, it's over there. It's on my bookshelf over there. I regard that to be the best piece of Star Wars content produced that is not named The Empire Strikes Back. Pretty much. So, needless to say, that leads us to where we are now with this horrendous garbage television show, The Acolyte, which has been going on for a while, which, despite being garbage, is something that I never really commented on, because one, I haven't watched it, because it's one of those things where, like, I'll let Star Wars Theory suffer through that, and he can tell us how bad it is. Like, I'll let all the people that actively cover the culture wars, I'll let them take care of that horrendous shit. And I'll just be along for the ride, and we can all laugh about how bad Star Wars is. Unfortunately, I feel the need to say something because they have truly done some unprecedented work here in Disney Star Wars. They have ruined a character with 1 second of screen time. It is truly phenomenal. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, that they ruined his story with 1 second of screen time. The character is ruined, bro. Just, you got all this shit going on. I'm not even going to give you plot synopsis of the Acolyte, except when it's going to be very necessary here. But this is kind of what do. Okay, like, what is this, bro? And there he is. There he is.
But Rosie, how did they ruin Darth Plagueis, man? He's been on screen for 1 second. How did they ruin him, man?
Oh, they ruined him, bro. Oh, they ruined him. Let me tell you something. They ruined him, bro. So how did they accomplish this Herculean task of ruining a character even though he's been on screen for literally 1 second? Well, they did that because, first of all, the entire show, it has been fucking with Star Wars lore. Okay? The entire show has been fucking with Star Wars lore in relation to the birth of Anakin Skywalker. Basically, Anakin Skywalker is a virgin in the Force. Okay, basically, to not sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form, Anakin is all you get in the movies is that he is the prophesized chosen one, destined to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. He's the Jedi's prophesized chosen one. Okay. The EU obviously went into it a little further, where we learn that the reason that Anakin exists is because Darth Plagueis and Palpatine attempted to not even sugarcoating it, rape the Force. That is what they tried to do to create the ultimate dark side entity. Okay? That is what they tried to do in the EU. It was Plagueis' idea. They tried to essentially rape the Force and create this ultimate being of the dark side. The dark side not submitting to their will, the Force not submitting to their will, retreated from Plagueis himself, and it's actually implied that if Plagueis wasn't so prolific with his knowledge of the Force, like if he was just doing this like out of the will, like if he didn't have such a scientific understanding of it, that he wouldn't even have been Force sensitive anymore if he didn't have such a huge Herculean mastery of his own midichlorians. But the long story short is, like, the Force retreats from Plagueis specifically and creates Anakin, the prophesized Jedi chosen one, in direct retaliation to Plagueis' actions. Get it? Got it? Good. That's what Anakin is. Okay, that is the conception behind Anakin's birth. Okay? So how has the Acolyte been fucking that up from day one? It's been fucking that up from day one because let's go back to YouTube here. Ignore all the Trump stuff. He was attempted to be assassinated. I'm kind of a political man right now. Let me move myself up here. So that's Smilo Ren, from my understanding. He's like the quasi fake Sith or whatever. Okay, that the DEI actress there is the main character, obviously, and she plays two characters or some horse shit. She plays twins that are virgins in the Force, and I'm not making this up either. If you are not caught up on what's been going on with Star Wars, she is also a virgin in the Force, which immediately makes Anakin less special. Inherently, Anakin is inherently less special, especially in like the timeline of the the timeline now, where it's like, okay, we're getting more like content that's not in the pages of a book or a comic book, right? As much as we like that content, we expect a lot of the theatrical timeline, and of course the EU has always been supplementary material where the films always came first, etc., etc. But that bitch is a virgin in the Force too, which makes Anakin less special. How is she a virgin in the Force? Well, apparently, from what I'm understanding, she has a twin sister, but the virgin's part is that they're also the same person or some fucking horse shit. I don't know. I again, haven't watched it, have no interest in watching it. And again, with the political disarray of our country in the last couple days, I haven't been really keeping up with Star Wars The Acolyte. I haven't really been watching the people that have been hate watching it. But so what is going on here? So there are virgins in the Force created, I shit you not, by lesbian space witches. That, seriously, the director of this show is herself a lesbo, and her wife is actually in the show playing one of the fucking Jedi. Like, yeah. So, but, and again, we could keep going on about how the show breaks lore with like the biggest thing is the retconning of Anakin being special in any way, shape, or form, because these other bitches were virgins in the Force like 100 years before he was, or whatever the fuck. So being a virgin in the Force is inherently less special because of that fact. Like, that Skywalker blood is inherently less special because these virgins in the Force can just pop up. Like, these lesbian space witches can just manifest one into existence. What people forget about this whole story is that Plagueis failed. Like, he failed in his quest and what he was trying to do. He didn't birth the super powerful dark side entity that he was trying to birth. The Force retaliated against that because it wouldn't be controlled or willed. So Plagueis couldn't control the Force, but these lesbian space convent of witches in the middle of nowhere sure can. What the fuck? What the fuck? So one of the most powerful Sith Lords that has ever existed, who a being who was manifested in his very creation by his master to be powerful in the Force, be literally created by Tenebris, but via the unification of his Force-sensitive parents to produce a powerful Force-sensitive, one of the most powerful Sith Lords in galactic history, couldn't do this, but this rando convent of lesbian space witches, they can do this. And they did it successfully. They did it so well it produced 2 people. It's a hunk of shit right from the get-go. Right from the get-go, that is a horrendous pile of horseshit. That I cannot even state on any conceivable level that is a bunch of crap. But like, how is this? Again, it specifically interferes with that in and of itself, where it's like these lesbian space witches were better than Plagueis and doing everything Plagueis was trying to do, which of course brings us to kind of why he's ruined in a sense. Plagueis' accomplishments in the EU are something no other being in the Force was able to replicate or produce. Even Palpatine, who I believe is on record as having a proficient understanding of every dark side ability that has ever existed, did not master what Plagueis did to the extent that he did. Plagueis' accomplishments in this field in the EU are unprecedented territory. How he was able to bring Venomous back to life over and over and over and kill him over and over and over again. And start to heal off his injuries from the Maladian assassin attempt, right? Are we all following this so far? Like how he was able to, like basically he was able to produce a dark side version of Force healing. And he was the only being in existence that has ever mastered what he his concepts that he was creating to the extent that he did. He mastered them to the extent that his belief that the Force was basically, Plagueis was an atheist in Star Wars lore, where he didn't believe there was anything mystifying about the Force. Now, obviously, he's wrong about that in universe, but he had such a scientific understanding and mastery of it that you could definitely see his point of view as to why he believed that. But the main issue is that Plagueis spent years and years and years perfecting his craft to the point where he left Palpatine to master the Empire, not master the Empire, but basically concoct the Sith grand plan in his place. Palpatine was the one who was instigating the rise of the Empire up till the Phantom Menace, where Plagueis came back to ensure that he was elected Chancellor, and which, of course, Plagueis was so self-obsessed with his own work and his own studies, and to the point where they actually celebrated his one big political victory via drinks, and of course that's what led to Palpatine actually being called by the Force to take this guy out. Palpatine even claims it was the dark side itself, but like the Force itself called on Palpatine, who was no saint by the way, to take this man out because of Plagueis' deranged schemes and ideas, pretty much. It was Palpatine's time to get rid of him, right? Because he had served up his own usefulness, and obviously his what he was doing to the Force was not going to go unpunished by the Force itself. This is Star Wars lore. But basically, why did I just get into all that, and why did I just bitch about that for no reason? Basically, everything that I just talked about and everything that I just told you is not relevant anymore because of this shit. Because, the lesbian space witches, they did the fucking shit to create divergence in the Force. How did they do it? Because they're lesbians and they have superpowers. That's basically what the Acolyte is telling you. They're lesbians and have lesbian space witch powers, and that's how they created a divergence in the Force. Okay, that's how they did it. Plagueis was some fucking no-life bum piece of shit that couldn't do anything that he wanted to accomplish on his own. He couldn't do that, so he has to skulk about. Like, look at him. Look at what the fuck he's doing. the fuck is this, bro? Look at him. He's some fucking loser bum literally crawling out from under a rock. Going, what are the lesbians doing? What are the lesbians doing? Right? He's literally going on Pornhub and typing in, ooh, what are the lesbians up to? You know, it's a crock of shit. It's a crock of shit. That like, this character has been, they have written in this one appearance, with this one 5-second appearance, and the implication that is there is that this guy is a no-life bum loser that can't do anything himself, so he has to obviously steal the idea from the all-powerful lesbian witches. Who knows how long he's been stalking them? Remember, Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday was just retconned in this show, right? They just retconned his date of birth. And Wikipedia couldn't wait to go correct that and start that whole fucking shit show. Like, they couldn't wait to go start that horse shit. So, Ki-Adi-Mundi's birthday was just retconned. Who knows how long Plagueis has been alive? He could have been stalking this cult of witches for 200 years, for all we know. For all we know, Plagueis could have been fucking... Like, again, we don't know anything about this new canon. This is Disney canon. Of course, in the EU, I don't even know what the hell he's doing at this point. I think he's like under Tenebris at this point in the canon, but I'm assuming Tenebris is dead at this point, or Plagueis is doing his own undercover bullshit if Tenebris is alive right now and not around. But again, they could just throw Tenebris out the fucking window, and you know what? If they do that, good on Tenebris, because he gets to escape Disney canon pretty much unscathed, because Tenebris was doing his own shit. And he had his own plan to wipe the Jedi out, which I'm sure Leslie Headland knows nothing about that. But basically, the major point here is that they have retconned him already with this 5-second appearance from a genius scientist to one of the smartest Sith Lords in galactic history to some moocher that just follows the lesbians around and steals what they're doing. Like, that to me is a bunch of fucking horseshit and completely insulting. Because again, what they were doing, what Plagueis did, and what the Darth Plagueis novel does is, like, Darth Plagueis as a novel explores the Sith way fucking better than this fucking show did, which is what it was supposed to do, right? It was supposed to be about the Sith. First of all, we don't even know if Smilo Ren's an actual Sith Lord. For all we know, he's just some fucking dark Jedi or some horse shit, and he's not even a real Sith, for all we fucking know. Oh, and this show has so many fucking problems. Being from how again? What does Plagueis sense that she's weird through the Force? Is that why he's coming to her? Like, is he doing his own studies? Like, again, it leaves a lot of assumptions. But is he doing his own shit, and then he senses that there's some vergence in the Force, and that's why he's after her specifically? Like, is he skulking about like some fucking pedophile in the woods because he's after her because he knows she's some virgins? Does he want to perform his own experiments on her? If Plagueis can sense her through the Force, why can't Yoda? Right? Why doesn't Yoda know anything that's going on right now? If Plagueis can sense her through the Force, Yoda can too. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yoda, because if Plagueis can sense that there's a dark side presence there, Yoda should be able to as well. Like, the Force Cloak doesn't, like, Force Cloak is not, Force Cloak works on those who are light side, unless that's been retconned at this point too. Disney canon's a shit show. They just don't care about the respected lore. To the point where this entire show pretty much is basically trying to validate Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. It's that fucking bad. Like, they make the Jedi so fucking horrible in this, where they're inept at best and fucking evil at worst. So Luke's position in The Last Jedi looks clear, which is a complete slap in the face to everything George Lucas wrote. Terrible. Like, when I say this is a dead brand, this IP is truly destroyed. This, in the direction that they're going in with the Jedi, is ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable how much they have damaged this IP. Unbelievable. And like this is just the latest example. It's like nobody gets out of the show unscathed. Even the guy who crept behind a rock for 5 minutes, like, what the fuck is he doing? Doesn't he have some fucking intergalactic banking clan to run? What the fuck is he doing? where are those lesbians at? Like, ridiculous, bro. This show fucking sucks. And what's really upsetting is that the Plagueis novel was truly extraordinary. It is a brilliant piece of Star Wars work, and it explores what the Sith are perfectly. Like, Plagueis is a perfect character to follow from his apprenticeship, even though you don't see his apprenticeship. You see the end of it, all the way up to his entire time, pretty much, as a master of the Sith, as what he did as Dark Lord of the Sith. He was the perfect character to follow through that. And see all the way up from the beginning to the end, because of how smart he was, his knowledge of Sith history, what they were as warriors of the past to what they become. Like, this character, again, like, you can tell I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I love the character. I love the character. So to see him go from the mad scientist to a guy who skulks about in the woods and behind caves and just mooches off the accomplishments of a lesbian cult is truly ridiculous. And not only that, but if you're gonna go and you're gonna shove the real life political agenda of the fucking writer into it, you can clearly see what they're going for. Where it's like the oppressed lesbo cult is the one that actually created this, and Plagueis comes in from behind the cave, representing the evil white man. And the evil white man is gonna steal what they did. Right? Horseshit. It's a bunch of total crap. It's a bunch of total crap. And it's just the latest example of this IP being fucking ruined. And fucking destroyed. You wonder why nobody watches this shit anymore. That's why. This is the latest example as of why. The character, and again, it's truly unprecedented work. The character, all he does is appear behind a rock, and he's ruined. Because if you know canon, and you know the implication here, and you know what the stakes are, you can put 2 and 2 together rather easily. And again, everybody knew who Smilo Ren was week fucking 2. So, it's not like this is a genius writer or anything that's gonna subvert our expectations. Hey, how you doing there, Ryan? Right? Everybody knew that Smilo Ren was that guy at the week 2 of the show. And they were trying to build it up as this big reveal. And it wasn't, because we all knew who it was. I didn't watch the show. But everybody knew. Like, week 2, people were making fun of the show because it was so obvious who Smilo Ren was. Like, so, do you think Leslie Headland, if this gets a second season, is going to fucking fix it? No. If anything, it's going to reaffirm what we were just talking about. Where Plagueis is some decrepit piece of shit who can't do anything. Just like every other fucking major character in Star Wars that's not a woman. Like, this IP is ruined, bro. And until Kathleen Kennedy is out, it's gonna stay ruined. And again, this is nothing revolutionary. But again, I'm somebody that doesn't cover this all the time. I'm telling you that Star Wars is a dead brain. It's obvious Star Wars is a dead brain. I don't have to tell you that. Look at the ratings for this shit. No one's watching it. Nobody watches this because nobody cares. And it's to the point where if I was supreme dictator of Star Wars, I have always said that the first thing that you decanonize is The Last Jedi. And maybe from an objective standpoint, like the sequel trilogy, that's the very first piece of Disney content you get rid of if you try to fix this brand. On a personal fucking level, though, if I was fixing Disney Star Wars, the first piece of content I would throw out is this show. Like, because that's ridiculous. The sequel trilogy is infinitely more fixable than this. Like, this show is nothing. This show is actual nothing, and it's an insult that the live action debut of yet another character, not only a character, one of the best characters that they needed to get right. This is a character they needed to get right. Because this is his era. This is his era. And yes, he is killed by Palpatine. That is canon. So that means he has another 80 years, at least, around, right? 80 years before the Phantom Menace, something like that. He has another 80 years as being Dark Lord of the Sith. Anything you do in this era, he is the primary antagonist. Unless you horribly retcon Tenebris to being the Dark Lord of the Sith up to, like, I don't know, 50 years before the Phantom Menace. Which, that would be stupid. That's not his time. He was Dark Lord of the Sith like 100 years himself. He trained Plagueis like an amount that in a full human lives. Like Plagueis was an apprentice for like 100 years or some shit. Like, but again, I like. Do you think? My question is, do you think Leslie Headland knows anything of what I just said? Like, do you think has Leslie Headland ever read Darth Plagueis? The answer to that is probably not. She's probably getting all of her information about Plagueis through these advisors that are on set. And again, I'm not like... again, I would just make a full adaptation of the novel into a show. And then recanonize the novel. But obviously that's out of the question now. Because they're going into this direction where Plagueis is skulking and stalking. He's skulking about... Where are the lesbians? And he's trying to find the space witches, and because they are the ones who really did everything. And it's worthless, bro. Disney Star Wars is fucking worthless. And just when you think it can't get worse, it always does. It always does. This show is a new low point. The show is genuinely unwatchable. Like, look at this. Like, the acting is horrible. Those, like, not... Like... Oh, and by the way, Plagueis' theme is not in the original. Like, it's added in retrospectively. Like, they couldn't even get that right. Like, they couldn't even have been bothered to put the fucking score of the opera scene in Revenge of the Sith in with his first appearance. That was fucking freer than dog shit. And they couldn't even get that right. Like, come on, bro. Ridiculous. That's all I gotta say, pretty much. I think I'm gonna stop ranting about Disney Star Wars and this dead brand. I'm getting the hell out of here. GG's.